Howdy y'all, this is Don of Level 1 and Mekkah.
Hi.
And welcome back to Chapter 6 of my Fire Emblem 5 Paragon Mode 0% Gross playthrough.
Finally, we get a breath of fresh air as we're outdoors once again. And Leif is surprised to find that many of his 5-move comrades have suddenly found horses randomly riding around. And this is very convenient because they will get all the bonuses that Finn got in the early game, which includes moving after attacking, trading, and other shenanigans. And also they get to rescue other people, which is great because now our foot units will be the ones that will be left behind, but thankfully we can carry them around for most of this chapter. And that's great because this is another escape map with 2 escape points that we want to get to as soon as possible, since there's some threatening enemies and a lot of turns to cut.
So it's back to classic Fire Emblem again, where mounted units reign supreme and infantry units are left in the dust. The game doesn't really explain that well how we managed to get all of our mounts back, because we've been in a prison for several chapters, and one wouldn't think that everybody would have their mounts carefully lined up waiting outside ready for them to escape. Apparently that's what Karin says happened to her Pegasus, but we don't know about the rest of the horses, because a unit such as Nana, for example, was originally captured very far away from here, and one wonders how she manages to get her horse back. But she hasn't quite mounted yet, because on the first turn we had to rescue her with Karin, and then the second turn we had to drop her over the wall, because Nana's starting position is a little too far back for her to reach the escape point at the same time as everyone else. So it's hard to scoot mounted units forward in this game, simply because you can't rescue a mounted unit unless they dismount first. So we can't do the same sort of shenanigans that we did with rescue chaining mounted units like we did back in FE6.
Karin recruits another mounted guy for our collection. This guy's name is Hicks, and he's an X-Knight just like Brighton. Unlike Brighton though, he wasn't around for the last 2 chapters, and he does not have Wrath, so that makes him a lot less useful. He has one more Pursuit Critical, but his stats are nothing to write home about. He is pretty slow, so he trades away his weapon right away, and that shows that he's mostly going to be used for rescuing shenanigans and other mounted things, so you won't see much action from him. Asvel visits a very strange building. It's the convoy, where items that we have but are not in our character's inventory are stored. Unlike in FE7 where you have like Merlinus, this game has a convoy that you can only access in a map in certain places, only if that convoy thing is there. He got the fire sword that Avel left there, because Avel somehow gets special treatment and didn't have to dump all of our items in chests in Chapter 4 like Leif and Lifis had to. Fire sword is going to be pretty useful for some meaty chip damage, because our means of doing damage at 1-2 range are kind of limited, and especially good damage. And the fire sword effectively has like 14 might because it gives +5 to magic, and it hits on magic that's usually 0 on these enemies. So for that reason alone, it's worth retrieving.
Earlier this turn we had Mashrua 1-round KO an enemy soldier, and that's pretty much the extent of the combat that we're going to face in this chapter. Karin's going to end up having to survive another attack from another enemy, but we did this chapter mostly the stealth way, which involves just our mounted units running around the right side of the map. And after one of the earlier cutscenes, the game induced a whole mob of enemies to start charging after us. But because the enemy group here consists mostly of armor knights, we're going to leave them in the dust with our mounted units. And Karin's been flying to very safe places overall throughout the course of the chapter. Right now, she is perched atop of a region of forest that's untraversable. So even enemy mages and bow knights who have 2 range won't be able to get her. And all she has to do is to survive 2 enemy armor knights throughout the course of the chapter, who 2-hit KO her, but she has very high avoid, which is bolstered by the fact that when she mounted, she actually gained 2 points of speed, so the chances of her getting hit twice are pretty low.
Karin is busy visiting all these villages, which we can get items from because we saved all the kids in Chapter 4X. She got the Knight Proof, which is the universal promotion item for this game, which will be used to promote Asvel. Very useful, of course. She's pretty much the only one who can visit these villages on the left without losing his turns. First she gets the Paragon Manual, which pretty much quadruples 1 unit's experience gain compared to normal mode, because it stacks with Paragon mode. That's great for accelerating 1 unit's promotion. And she also gets a Ordo Scroll, which is great for negating criticals like all the other scrolls have. There's also a holy water in the village on the lower right, but we're not going to get that because it doesn't really save us the turns that it costs us to get. Pure water is really good because of the way magic works, but we have enough to get by, so we're just going to skip it.
One note about this map worth pointing out is that in normal playthrough with growths and probably without Paragon mode, the dominant strategy is to go left from the starting point instead of right and plow through the enemies like bowls through a china shop, because a normal playthrough would have an Asphalt that's strong enough to be able to deal with all of them, and additionally without Paragon mode, Asphalt needs the additional experience to reach level 10, because he was able to reach level 10 in the previous map. But going this long way ends up costing an extra turn, but we really have to do it because I don't want to go through the bullshit that was the previous chapter again. And speaking of something related to the previous chapter, one of the reasons why we left Dalshin behind was because imagine trying to carry his fat ass throughout this chapter where he incurs a movement penalty on every single one of our mountain units. Not going to happen. So we employ one last trick to escape, which is we escape with the mountain unit that's carrying Leaf instead of escaping with Leaf directly himself. This is a pretty important trick in outdoor maps because Leaf's movement is subpar, and he's often going to be carried by a pony when possible. So that's it for Chapter 6, completed in 7 turns. Come back for more next time.
See ya.